Hey, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me. Let's see. I haven't done this from the laptop before, so I'm a little rusty. We got a couple devices here, and I'm hoping that there'll be some people who pop on here um, from the Maids Network, and we can get some questions asked about hiring. I wanted to be able to help build the audience here and help extend the reach for all things cleaning. So I'm gonna finish setting up here because it went live faster than I anticipated. Minor detail, right? Let's see if this is even on. We'll see. Ta-da! Let's see if we can see anybody on the live. I don't see. So we're going to talk a little bit about hiring and the best practices. This is probably the number 2 question I get asked all the time about what to do, how to do it. You can see my mess behind me, but that's fine. So hiring, you get to a point in your evolution. Hi, I don't know who's there. Maybe it'll let me see comments, or I guess maybe I'll have to look on the phone. So the number 2 question I get asked a lot is how to hire. When do I know if I can hire? How can I afford to hire? What can I do to hire? I need more help. I can't do this myself. Let's see if we have a chat going on here. Let's see, YouTube. So one of the first things you want to do if you're considering, if you have too many houses and you're already burned out, there's a lot of steps that you can take to make sure that you, don't burn out. We can talk about self-care and another thing. But most importantly, how many houses does it take to keep someone busy, right? Only the big boys usually will have full-time work in the larger cities. This is more for the rural areas, which is usually what I end up connecting to. And the reasoning behind what you want to do is you want to have 25 to 30 homes for one cleaning tech to be busy. Technically, if you were to run someone full-time, it should be about 15 to 20, depending on your price point, to keep someone busy full-time. But when you have 25 to 30, it kind of doubles up because people fall off the schedule. But just know that as a good basis point, that's where you'd want to start in the evolution of your process to see. Let's see if I actually show up live, and we'll see if I can see anybody. Let's see. It's got this silly face on my and there's like an echo. So make sure that you understand that you need 15 to 20 homes to keep one cleaning tech busy. It only takes 15 to 17 cleaning techs to hit the 7-figure mark. I know that's the desired result. Okay, oh my God, I'm going to hit the $1 million mark. You actually really don't start to make a lot of money until you get to the 2 million and 3 million. As we're watching some of the $1 million businesses are now pushing into 2 million, 2.5, 2.7, 3.2 million dollars. And those are really for larger demographics. Like, it would be really hard to pull that kind of volume unless your service area was really large. So just know that it takes 15 to 17 cleaning techs to hit the 1 million mark. And even after that, you have to pay yourself, and your expenses go up. And if everything doesn't go completely perfect, you have a good chance of making a pretty decent salary, right? And I know ideally everyone's wanting to run the remote model. And that can also bring in revenue, but there's a certain connectivity that you have to have. So if you're running the remote model, there are 2 options. There's a remote model with 100% 1099s. And I've seen a lot of those guys plateau, especially this year. They get to a certain point and they can't push past the threshold. And we can go on and on and on about why I think that's happening, but I'm not going to discuss that here. I'm here to help you hire W-2s. So you need to have some sort of funnel set up, whether it's old school manual, because not everybody is tech savvy, or you have to have a fully automated platform that will bring them through the email sequence and get them to do certain activities. Hold on, let me grab my dog. And Come on. For those of you who are familiar with me, I have all my dogs are aging out. It's really hard. So one of them is 16, the other one is 15, another one is 10, and then my youngest is 7. So they'll just keep scratching the door and drive me nuts. So make sure that you have a funnel set up and that you know what you're looking for. Pay is a really big indicator for a cleaning tech. If you cannot afford to pay your cleaning techs a livable wage, then you probably should not be hiring. I'm not saying you can't, but when you come to me and we chat about how much you have to pay for someone, and then you say, well, this is what everyone else is paying, you're not really wanting to be here because everybody else is paying $7.85 minimum wage. We all know that cleaning is a very physically demanding and exhausting job. It's not just physically doing stuff. There's a lot of nuances, like grooming them to be able to say the right things to the clients, showing them how to do, and this is all W2 related, showing them how to do the job the right way, taking, nurturing and growing and evolving. And you're not going to get that nurturing, growing, evolving for $7.85. People ask me all the time what I pay, and I'm very open. I only work with 1099s, and I pay on average, it ends up being $30 to $35, sometimes $45 an hour, depending on the scope of the job, but it's paid at a flat rate price. So they get a percentage of the job, whatever is higher. I'm not here to mess around and worry about if someone who's making $7.85 an hour is going to show up. But I know that the people who are getting paid a huge percentage of the job to do the job that I don't have to do, I know they're going to show up and do the job. So that makes it nice. And there's a lot of technicalities about 1099. So be very careful that you are not misclassifying your 1099s. I see that a lot. A lot of people from Canada are giving out advice for workers here. And I'm like, first of all, you're not an attorney. You're not a legal attorney for employees. And you're giving out advice like you are an attorney and you don't even live in this country. So shut your pie hole. It's just like, come on, give me a break. I don't see any, welcome to chat. Remember to guard your privacy and abide by guidelines. Okay. Perfect. I don't know why it's not showing anything in the chat. So maybe it just won't do it this time because I'm on the laptop. All messages are clear. So yeah, there's a really important aspect. So you need to have the right amount of homes. You need to be able to pay, and you need to be able to have an onboarding system. So once you've tried them, there's a couple of options, and a lot of the stuff is mentioned in the onboarding, like a superstar. It legitimately is a course. It's under $10. And it just goes into more detail. I won't go into all of the nuances of hiring, but there's, you can hire through the traditional application process, whether that's in person, believe it or not, people still do that, or you can do it online. It can be frustrating for an employee to keep filling out applications if you're not intending on hiring. And remember, if you need one, hire two. So after you've determined if you had enough homes and that you're going to pay them a decent livable wage, then there's the onboarding. So you need to have your application filled out, your I-9, and then whatever your state requires for the federal, the tax ID, not tax ID. That's for me. For the actual, why am I having a brain fart? Oh, social security number, or your visa, or your work authorization number that you've been given to be able to work in this industry. So you want to make sure that you have those and that you have emergency contact. There's a lot of nuances that you need after you get the paperwork element, and there's a process to it. So when you first hire them, you're not going to want to fill out everything all at once. You want to get them through training and see if they're going to work. I recommend that you only train for 20 hours max. If they can't make it by 20 hours, they're not going to make it. And it's nothing personal. It's just a very physically demanding job that requires a certain skill set. And not everybody, believe it or not, because everyone says, oh my God, it's just cleaning. But everyone can decide whether they're going to make the cleaning aspect or not. So there's things that you need to do. There's, a training schedule you need to come up with. That's covered in the Structure, Scale, and Profit Cleaning Business Academy. There's like, do I lead them? Do I have a trainer? Do I train myself? There's all of these elements. You could have a working interview where you kind of like somebody and you're not quite sure, so you work them for the day, make sure you have a way to pay them and that is documented. And then there's some brief information. You need their application, you need a copy of their driver's license, and you need an emergency contact. I talk about this very openly, even in the Onboarding Like a Superstar and the Structure, Scale, and Profit Cleaning Business Academy. Every time I talk about an employee, you need those three things. And the reason why you need the driver's license is if something goes down and they end up not being a really stable individual, air quotes, you have a driver's license to show the proper authorities to, hey, this person worked for me and this happened. And I pray to God that you never have to do that. And then you need the emergency contact, because not everybody, when you're doing a working interview, discloses all of their stuff to you. Like, I'm a diabetic and I need to have insulin, or I require this, or I can't do that. They don't just say, they just go along, right? Well, if you have a medical emergency and you don't have an emergency contact, what are you going to do, right? So there's that. And then you need to have, proof of insurance. I highly recommend. I work the solo method. I've always loved the solo method, and I've tried all three. So you want to make sure that that works out for you as well. So driver's license, emergency contact, and the original application. And then after they've worked with you, maybe on day 2, I would quickly go through, or maybe day 3, if you think they're going to make it through training. Hey, can you fill out this paperwork really quick for me? And it's the rest of the onboarding paperwork that you would have. So you would have an employee handbook. You would have, already have the emergency contact. Any SOPs that you believe would be relevant could be covered in the employee handbook, or could be in addition to company policies, how to get a hold of me, how to call out sick, how to get on the Slack, how to download the Jobber app. These are all things that you would have part of your onboarding so that you can hire them and have smooth operations. You don't want to spend your time out in the field working. You want to spend time working on your business and not in it. Does anybody, it's not showing me any chat, so hopefully it will, which is really odd. I don't know, maybe it's everybody updates all of their stuff all of the time. So those are some brief overviews. So you can do the working interview, but I would not have them fill out, I would not waste the paper or your time on having them fill out a half-hour of paperwork. You could actually send it home with them and just pay them a half hour, and they can fill it out too. I talk a lot about, how you can make sure that someone can read and write. Believe it or not, in today's society, we still have people who don't know how to read and write, and it's really unfortunate. And it's just like, I love reading, right? I would be dispassionate if I was not able to read. I mean, I read a lot of books every single year, anywhere from 50 to 100 different things. That's in addition to all of the other things I do, because I really like to read. Not everyone likes to read, but you need to make sure that they can read and write. I always say how there are 3 things that you need to learn in your lifetime. Everything else is optional, or it's automatic. Like breathing is automatic. Your heart beats, and automatically, hi, Earthy, how are you? You need to be able to breathe, right? That's an automatic thing. You need to be able to read and write. That whatever language that is, you need to be able to read and write. And there's lots of reasons for knowing how to read and write. You need to be able to understand what you're reading and writing. So I would spend time doing that. You also need to know how to swim, right? You need to know how to swim and count cash. I always say cash, but I'm actually from currency as well. And the reason why, the 3 big things, right? Everything else, cooking, learning how to clean, learning how to drive, learning how to, cooperate with the schools, learning how to do all those things. But the 3 big ones are those. So you need to have your big 3 on what you're going to do when you hire somebody. So you've got their application, you're giving them the working interview, you're going to pay them at the end. You're going to tell them, hey, thanks so much for coming out and spending the day with me. I really appreciate you taking the time to do that. I've decided that we're going to move forward, or I've decided that you're just not what we're looking for. Here's your check for your pay. Best of luck, right? It's cut and dry. Don't be emotional. Don't buy this person lunch. Make sure that if you're working the solo method, that they're following you in their car. You don't want to get stuck having to drive employees who have no car, and then you'll never be out of the field. Then you're trying to work from your car, off your iPad that's attached to the cell tower while you're waiting for the cleaning techs to clean. It just becomes this monotonous nightmare. And I know, because I'm guilty of it. So, earthy balance, it doesn't give you a name. So this is our next big step. We have been stuck waiting to hire to grow. Yeah, there's a lot of things that you can do to hiring and growing. How many people do you currently have with you? Are you partnered with somebody? Are you still solo? Do you have family helping you out? Do you have friends helping you out? Where are you in the spectrum of the technical hiring process? And it can be overwhelming. There's a lot of things that they don't teach you HR when you become an entrepreneur. Like, hey, by the way, you can do all these things. How many times have we seen it's all glamorous, all Instagram? And you see what's real and what's not real. This is what the Instagram is, and this is what it really looks like behind the scenes. And it's not the guy wearing the shorts, the pants, and the tux. He's only got a tux on to here. And you're like, oh, right. So they don't teach you guys all of the things that you need to know with HR, and there's a lot of legal crap that you have to like go through so that you can make sure that you're legit, right? You got to have workman's comp, you got to have general liability, you got to have marine insurance. You're like, what's marine insurance? Marine insurance covers your equipment, right? Should that get stolen? Like, I had an office for a long time, and if someone like broke into my office and stole my gear, that was covered, right? It's just weird, like my washer and dryer. Okay, Earthy Balance is saying me and my wife and 35 clients. So are you guys working together or are you working solo? I don't know why this little reminder thing doesn't give you an X to get out of the welcome to the chat. Together. Okay, so you are doing how many homes per day? 2, 3? Sorry, one of my older dogs that doesn't do him hack. He's got heart failure. You know how it is when they get older. 2 to 3. Okay, so you're doing 2 to 3 homes a day. Hopefully you are charging the right price point. You have 35. So you need about 45 to 50 clients to actually start to be able to cover the expense. There's 2 ways of hiring the expense. You can bootstrap it, and not everyone is comfortable with bootstrapping. Bootstrapping takes like that grit, right? You're like, okay, I'm now giving you my income, you better perform, right? And not everybody is comfortable doing that. So you either have to save up the money, and like 10 grand usually will work for a period of time. And then you'll have to figure out what your payroll taxes are and setting up your systems with the state that you're in and setting up the 940 and the 941 account and all of the stuff that goes along with it. Sorry. Dogs and their noise. He's like, what's going on? Why do I keep doing this? We'll get you some more medicine in a minute, buddy. So you could bootstrap it and give out a part of your income. So instead of having 2 to 3 homes, you probably you split, and then you can bring 2 others with you, and you can start the process there, or you can just do entirely solo. I've run all 3. I've run triples, I've run doubles, I've run solo. The solo business model is the most profitable business model, and it's less dramatic. There's not the who didn't clean the master bath in Mr. Smith's house, right? It's the you cleaned this whole house. Why didn't you clean the master bath? Stupid dog. It's always when you go live and an animal's like, oh. So you can split off where your wife works one and you work one with 2 other individuals, and with the intention of them working by themselves, or you could have 2 separate teams. So then you're doing 4 homes a day or 6 homes a day. But if you get them to be able to work themselves, solos can usually do 2 to 3 homes by themselves, depending on the individual. And then each time, so then if all 4 of you were to work 2 or 3 homes, that's 3, 6, 9, that's 12 homes instead of 2 or 3, or it could be 16 homes, depending on the length and the time, because you remember you want to look for certain size homes. Does that make sense? Earthly Balance, it doesn't give your name. Oh, it sounds like my dog is finally done hacking. Sorry, you guys. So these are just some of the aspects for that. Does anybody else who's watching have any questions? I see there's a few of you on here now. Yay! What square foot or hours of cleaning is too large for solo? I would dread a house that takes more than 5 hours. If you know that's your cap, usually if someone's cleaning a house for 5 hours or too pooped to clean another house after, it's a psychological thing, and you have to have someone who physically can do it. We have a lot of, I try to look for a certain size home, but we do have a few homes that are larger. We have a 5,555 square foot home, and it takes that girl 4.5 to 5.5 hours to clean it, and she cleans it once a week. And that particular house has actually gone back and forth between weekly and biweekly, depending on if their travels. They go to Italy a lot and stuff. They have a lot of short-term rentals. So if they go to biweekly, I've noticed, because they're pretty tidy, and they, even though they have 2 kids, well, 3 kids now, and 2 dogs. So the house extends to about the 6-hour mark, is 6.5. If you're charging enough, then it shouldn't be a problem. What I like, my favorite size client is anywhere from 1,500 to 2,200 square feet. The house can be cleaned in 2.5 to 3 hours. That way that person is getting a solid 6 hours every day. And sometimes they can fit in a small house at the end of the day. That's a lot to ask for somebody if they're not physically able to do it. When I was out cleaning, I could clean 1,000 square feet in an hour. I don't know. I haven't cleaned in a while. I don't think I can clean 1,000 square feet an hour. Probably way slower than that. That was like back in the day. Does that make sense? So you're looking for a certain type of home. And because you're going to ask them the questions like, hey, what size is your home? Sometimes the homeowners will know. Sometimes they won't. Sometimes they want you to look it up because they're like trying to get it cheaper. And so then you'll have to Zillow it or whatever. And even then they're like, well, it doesn't say. It's just random information. So you'll be able to figure it out. But yeah, 2.5 to 3 hours makes it easier. And if you cluster your houses together, then they're not driving over to Timbuktu to try to figure out why there's so much travel time, especially if you're in a state that requires that you pay travel time, like California, Massachusetts. I can't remember the third state. Those are all really hard states to have employees in because there's a lot of extra expenses. So make sure that you're familiar with what your laws are in regards to payment. Some people pay a flat rate for the whole day. Other people pay by the house with a different wage in between houses while they're driving. It just depends on what works for you and how hard it is for you to cut your payroll. Any other questions? Sorry, I have a kid who's homesick, so I heard him running across the floor. So he's clearly not that sick. Does anybody else have any questions for me? I mean, I can just sing all by myself, but it gets, nobody wants, I don't want to hear myself talk all the time. So yes, if you are trying to figure out how to hire and go through the whole process, then you could take my signature program that talks all about hiring in depth. There's a whole module in it. Yeah, sure, no problem. You can have, I'm happy to answer a few more questions. I have a little bit of extra time. I just thought it would be fun to go live here instead of on TikTok or on Facebook. You just get, it's the same thing over and over again. So I was like, oh, this is exciting. Does anybody else have any questions? You can go right to my website. It's Clean Freaks University, KLEANFREAKS University.com. And it has all of the information that you can read about for the Structure, Scale, and Profit Cleaning Business Academy. There's several other courses that are listed there as well. There's the Cleaning Business Collective, which I'm doing 60-day memberships inside that. That's actually really fun because then you get to work with me. And it's a 30-day sprint. It's one-on-one coaching. It's like having me in your back pocket. And then we can really dig in on a daily basis for just about 30 days. It ends up being, I've had a lot of really good, quick success. So it's fast, fast, fast. And then the Structure, Scale, and Profit Cleaning Business Academy is 10 to 12 weeks, depending on how quickly you go through the information. Does anybody else have any hiring questions? I mean, I can just go on the training schedule should be something like this. Day 1, you do a brief intro of chemicals and you meet at the house. So they would probably do a bathroom and some dry work. And then day 2 would be, this is generalization off the top of my head. I don't remember what I actually have written in there. Day 2 is where they do maybe a kitchen and you do the bathrooms and the dry work. And then day 3, they should be able to do both of the wet work. And then you're slowly, incrementally giving them more and more of the house. And they should be able to clean 10 houses of training in that week. That gives them enough of a time frame for them to kind of get familiar with the nuances. Does everyone fit into the 10-hour spectrum? No. There are certain benchmarks that can happen, and there's circumstances that can happen. You know, maybe they get overwhelmed by the job, or maybe they have performance anxiety. There's a lot of things that can go on, so you have to kind of work out the wave, so to speak. It's not always cut and dry, especially with this workforce now. The workforce is so much different than it was even 5 years ago. And I know I keep repeating that, but it keeps changing. It ebbs and flows and ebbs and flows. So make sure that you understand that dynamic too. But yeah, 20 hours max. If they can't cut it, if they're argumentative with you, they can't follow tasks, like you're gonna watch me and then you're gonna clean. Or what do I hear a lot when I was training? You want me to stick my hands on that toilet? I'm like, you got gloves. Like you want me, you physically want me to stick my hands on that toilet and use a Pumice Stone, right? And I'm like, yeah. And then you know how to do the disinfectant, which we used to use. I can't remember the name of the product, but then COVID happened. So now we just use rubbing alcohol and white vinegar mix. It's a 50-50 and we shake it up, spray it on from the top to the bottom, let it dwell for 5 minutes and wipe it sparkly clean. Ta-da! Right? Does anyone else have any questions? This was so fun. Well, I'll just hang out here for another minute or so and see if anyone else has any questions. And then it looks like Earthly Balance gets a prize for participating the most. So I think it's awesome. If you email me at info@cleanfreaksuniversity.com, I can go ahead and get your prize to you. It doesn't give me any more of your information, just says Earthly Balance. So I'm happy to give you your prize. It will be the Move Out Cleaning Masterclass. Sorry, I was working on it earlier. And I'll get that over to you. If you guys don't have any more questions, reach out. I'm just excited to answer questions and, have a different scenery, a different change of pace. Don't forget to email me. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.